What's cooking? Today we are going to be reviewing this. This is the Gourmia Pod SV and it has a special claim to fame. Well, it is the cheapest sous vide machine on Amazon, ringing in at a grand total of £35. Now, despite its cheapness, it makes some very lofty claims, and those claims for us are challenges. The box says plus or minus 0.5 of a degree. First to make easy sous vide. I'm not sure that's entirely true. Along with terms like nano monitoring and unerring accuracy, we'll see how this thing goes. It's got 3 sets of instructions, just reinforcing easy sous vide, and a recipe book that I won't be using. More plastic and a fixed cable. That's not the best for storage. The clamp is strong and rubberized. To me, it feels reassuring. The water exposed part is mostly metal. It's got a high and a low point, operating between 3 and 5 gallons. The top is plastic and a little creaky, but I can't see a reason to twist it like this in normal usage. It's got a little dial with a not so satisfying dull click to it. Overall, build quality is not bad. Let's get on to the heating time test. So to put this really through the ringer, I'll be doing some beef ribs, and those beef ribs are going to be on for 24 hours, and we're going to do them around about medium. Alright, so it says we're at the correct temperature. Sort of seems to, well, by its own accord, it seems to hover just sort of 0.1 of a degree over the 63 degrees Celsius that I set it at. I set it at 63 degrees Celsius because that is the sort of temperature I want for beef rib. Just have a little bit of pink on the inside, but have the fat correctly rendered. So we'll use this thermometer and test it against its own thermometer. We'll test it in 2 places. We'll test it at the back, which is right near where I'd expect it to be most accurate, and then somewhere at the front, just to sort of see if there's any difference. It might give us an indication of how good that motor is. Right near the motor, it says it's 63.2 degrees Celsius, so it's 0.1 of a degree out at the front, but we're going to give it. And then if we just clip open the box here, 63.4 degrees Celsius, so 0.2 degrees higher. Still, I'd say that's within a range of very, very acceptable, but the question is, can it maintain it? Now, as for the heating process, as you can see, it heated fairly quickly, but it's fairly noisy as well. It had when it was in full bore, it had a whiny sort of noise, and it made me think that I had something wrong with my ears, or maybe that there was something wrong with our tap. But no, it was this. So for 15 minutes you may have to bear it. But at the moment, it's still loud. It's definitely not the quietest sous vide machine I've heard, but for £35 so far, it's not looking too bad. Alright, so the meat's in with a little bit of salt and a little bit of garlic. Seems to be holding steady. 63.1, 63.2, and my own reading says 63.2 as well. So we're saying it's fairly accurate, but I'm trying to catch it unaware. Just when it thinks I'm not looking, I'm gonna pounce. Spot check. 63.3 on the dial, 63.2 on my thermometer. Good afternoon. We've been working for 22 hours, which means we've got 2 hours to go before I get to pull this thing out. It seems to be going quite well. I've noticed it does swing from about 0.2 degrees to about 0.5 degrees away from its target temperature, because at the moment it's currently sitting at 63.4. and on my thermometer it says 63.7. So unerringly, it does seem to err on the side of caution by going slightly, ever so slightly hotter than what it says it's going to be. But I suppose it's not quite perfect in that sense, and you get what you get for 35 pounds. Now the beef ribs are going to be super tender, but it's quite a heavy fatty meat, and last night's New Year's Eve meal was fairly hefty, so I'm going to go quite light. I'm going to do a rotkohl, and I'm going to do some pickled celery root or celeriac. Finally, I'm going to make a sauce out of pomegranate syrup for a nice tangy accent. When the meat comes out, I'm going to be giving it a nice sear in the frying pan, burn a bit of salt into the outside, get it nice and sort of crispy, but also beautifully, slightly pink, but meltingly tender in the middle. And then we'll plate it up, see how it tastes, and then we'll give this thing a rating. See whether it's worth the money. Alright, so here's the meat. She's shrunken a little bit. It's still quite firm, which is nice. It's not completely brazy and falling apart. But we've got some nice pink sort of texture, color in there. It's nice. It's got a very steaky sort of texture to it. These are the results here. We've got a nice run of a mustard and pomegranate mayo. So that there's got a nice sweet, tangy, cutting element to it, because the beef rib itself is nice and fatty. You can see here that over the course of the 24 hours, we've sort of broken down the fat, but not melted it completely. We've still got a bit of that lovely intramuscular fat, still just sort of hanging on there, making sure that we've got still quite a nice steaky texture. It's not just falling apart completely. Now, another cutting element we've got is this celery root or celeriac right here. So that's been squeezed out, and it's been brined in a bit of salt and then rinsed with carrot juice, and gives it a nice little light sweetness, which is fantastic. And then finally underneath, we've got the rotkohl, which has been done with a beautiful Pacific rose apple, a little bit of salt, garlic and caraway to amplify the earthiness. So we'll cut into this one more time. We'll see how a bit further in we've still got that lovely pink, beautiful pinkness there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, how do we rate this against, as far as sous vide machines go? At 35 pounds, this is a bit of a steal, I'd say. The jury's still out on as to whether it'll actually last, whether it'll go the distance. But if you're just sort of wanting to get a bit of a start on sous vide and you're looking for something fairly simple, there's no apps involved or anything like that, this may be the way to do it. But if you're going to commit to it, perhaps invest in something more. I don't know what they're going to be like in terms of customer support if anything goes wrong. So your rating is around about a 7 out of 10. Build quality is all right. Fairly good, a little bit creaky. The bottom half is metal, which hopefully will give us a little bit more endurance. The temperature control is fairly good, and the results are fantastic. But then again, it's not really trying too hard to do too much. This is all you can really ask for. And if you want this recipe, I'll be throwing that up on my website at casterazucar.com. So if you like that content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and give it a like, and even throw down a couple of comments about what you would do. What would be the first thing you would try with a sous vide machine? You're going to go down the classic steak route, or you're going to challenge yourself with a 24-hour cook or beyond?